Wow. So that is it's some very funny stuff there, just to say the least. It was like Nike, yeah. So that's pretty much that's why he was Sean Clancy there was burning his Nike shoes, because Colin Kaepernick is just, they released a picture of the Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick had like a slow mo on his face, looking all like dreamy. Just believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Which is, I mean, it's really kind of an analogous quote. It's not saying, I like to kneel. Kneeling's the best. Kneeling is great. It doesn't even mention kneeling at all. It just says, I have a strongly held belief, and I believe in it, even if it means sacrificing everything. Which is like something that these Marines should be able to relate to, if you ask me. Yeah. So, let's get another tweet about this reaction to Colin Kaepernick here on the front of Nike. So, yeah. John Rich, who is, let's see who John Rich is. I have no idea. He's one half of the Big and Rich and owner of Redneck Riviera. What's Big and Rich? I don't know. Is he a country singer? Yes, he's a country singer. Yeah, so, yeah, he's a country singer. Our sound man just cut off Nike's swoosh off his socks. Former Marine. Get ready at Nike to multiply that by millions. Like, they don't care if like 2 million people cut their swooshes off their socks, because they already have the socks. Oh no. Did you believe that? It's crazy. So yeah, Ben Shapiro tweeted that Kaepernick hasn't sacrificed everything, unlike Muhammad Ali, an anti-racist, anti-imperialist who would have been a huge Shapiro fan if he were alive today, for sure. Oh my god, that's funny. That's probably the funniest thing in this entire story. Yeah, I mean, let's make something clear. Nike, the world's most valuable athletic apparel company, is worth $28 billion. It's the GDP of many entire nations. They don't do anything without considering its impact on their bottom line. In one way, it makes their endorsement of Kaepernick a spokesperson encouraging. Given the cultural forces of white nationalism and anti-racism, Nike has chosen the latter. But like many corporations in embrace of the LGBT community, it has less to do with moral purity on the part of the corporations than practical business sense. Nike's quarterly report in March showed continued sales decline in North America, offset by major growth elsewhere. It's hard to imagine many people outside the U.S. giving much of a shit about an American football player kneeling during the American national anthem, because not everyone else is that stupid. But within the U.S., this is a PR move like any other, calculating to appeal to certain groups while enraging others, creating cascades of free advertising. For every moron who cuts logo off his tube socks, another almost equally ridiculous person will purchase a new pair in support of free speech, maybe. Conservatives might even opt to buy more Nike products than themselves in some sort of 12th dimensional chess move, like they did with their Starbucks protest back in 2016. And then they bought the Keurigs and they smashed them on the ground because Keurig boycotted John Hannity or whatever. Yeah, and he was like, I don't like this, it's very bad. But the point is, conservative boycotts are always funny, so all we get to do is watch the pictures for like about a week until they give up. It's always fun to watch the pictures just sit there, roll in, as they pretty much destroy things that they really don't really need to be destroying. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Newsflash on this Tuesday morning, day after Labor Day. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it, as always. And it really helps you, hopefully helps you get in the mood for the day. Tune the show wherever you may be listening. And yeah, we're going to be with you in your morning, commute to work, your drive to school, whatever. So yeah, we are available live and immediately after on pretty much every podcast platform you can imagine. By the way, we're also on Spotify. I don't know if you remember that, but we are actually now on Spotify. It's true. We're on Spotify. How amazing is that? Yeah, so it's very cool stuff. But anyway, we now turn to our last two stories of the day, and they're both good stories, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, so General John Nicholson Jr. had led the U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan for 31 turbulent months. Now he's finally retiring, and his departing speech in Kabul made some strong statements about the 17-year-old conflict. It's time for the war in Afghanistan to end, Nicholson said simply, according to the New York Times. He also reprimanded the Taliban and countries like Pakistan for encouraging the conflict to continue, whose voices are important, he said. The outsiders who are encouraging you to fight, or the voices of your own people who are encouraging you to peace. He also pushed for peace talks to begin immediately, a strategy that Trump administration hopes will hasten the end of the war. So at least, they're trying. They're pushing for peace talks in some sort of way, like the military side of the Trump administration, which is a little bit surprising. And it kind of makes you say, I'll believe it when I see it, but whatever. So the Nicholson statements about the cost of endless war, though surprising, come from a four-star general pairing comparison to his wife's activism. Noreen MacDonald, a security analyst who Nicholson met in Afghanistan, was a prominent presence alongside her husband in recent years, and her positions were often at odds with U.S. actions. In addition to distributing aid to families who were bombed by U.S. and NATO troops, she published video of terrible conditions in parts of the country and railed against the radicalizing force of the war on young Afghan men, which is a really good, it's really what the U.S. should be doing, by a large degree, if they don't want to, pretty much create a breeding ground for terrorism. Because, when you bomb a country, and the people don't like the war, all you're going to do is pretty much create more terrorists. And that's a very, about 60% of the time, that's a bad situation to be in. That's a very bad situation to be in. Because, there's a good portion of the time where it's, it's worth it. You're in a war, you're fighting, whatever. Although, maybe you can argue about the cause of the war. People know you're in a war. But, if you get to a point where you're just bombing people in, really awful places, that's going to radicalize a lot of people. Especially in a war that people, really have gotten tired of, like this one. And on both sides, I'm tired of it here. People are most likely, from what I'm seeing, very tired of it over there. It makes a lot of sense. It definitely makes a lot of sense. So WikiLeaks released cables that showed U.S. officials discussing the need to rein her in. After that, it seems someone attempted to push her out of the country. Miss McDonald's offices were raided by Afghan intelligence, her equipment confiscated, and she was asked to leave the country, scrambling to find caretakers for a Russian Jeep and motorcycle that drove around Kabul, and the pet turtle she kept at home, though it was not clear if she ever left, according to the New York Times. Wow. So, this whole entire thing was, not sanctioned, and that probably makes her one of my favorite people. So, yeah, something that this speech by the general was probably something that Noreen MacDonald made him do. So or maybe encouraged him in some sort of way. Hopefully he believes it, but we don't know. We don't know. We'll find out. So other military higher-ups who served in Afghanistan take the anti-war analysis even further than Nicholson, though perhaps not as far as his wife. Carl Eikenberry says, our soldiers are volunteers preventing American people and their elected representatives to be indifferent about the war in Afghanistan. We continue to fight simply because we are there. It's pretty much the main reason of why it is. Apologize, my alarm just went off. Carl Eikenberry, a former American commander to Afghanistan and U.S. ambassador to Kabul, told the Times, military commanders in Afghanistan, absent political guidance and a diplomatic strategy, have filled the vacuum by waging a war all agree cannot be won militarily. Their mission to make great progress, which they have themselves defined as often unrelated to the task of delivering substantial peace and withdrawal of the U.S. forces. In my mind, and in the minds of, really a lot of people, I think the majority of the country, we need to be out of there now. It's getting to a point, we need total withdrawal now. A lot of people, and it seems to be their support from the generals, that the war in Afghanistan should not be, the war in Afghanistan should not continue. And I think it's something that's a broad support, bipartisan political factions in the country. So I think it's something that should be done, and not done in a year, but done now. Hopefully the Democrats can get to it. and work on it with Trump if they retake the House in 2018. So yeah, that'd be some pretty cool stuff. Be some pretty cool stuff if they take the House in a few months. So we'll be watching that, or maybe even the Senate. So maybe they can push back a resolution on it or something. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that's something we can get action on sooner rather than later. Yeah. So now we get to a pretty good story here today. A GoFundMe campaign started by the organization USA Latinx, which the Hill calls a political group focused on supporting or endorsing Latinx candidates, raised nearly $10,000 today to erect a mobile billboard that hopes to undermine Donald Trump's endorsement of Texas Senator Ted Cruz ahead of the midterm elections. President Donald Trump will be rallying to help Senator Ted Cruz win his re-election. GoFundMe reads, a rally is being planned according to Trump the biggest stadium in Texas. The organization hopes to park a billboard truck on the way to the yet unannounced rally, displaying a tweet from President Trump that will underscore the hypocrisy of his campaign for Cruz. The tweet, which Trump sent in February of 2016 while campaigning for the Republican nomination, reads, "Why would the people of Texas support Ted Cruz when he's accomplished absolutely nothing for them? He is all talk, no action. He's another all talk, no action Paul." Meaning politician. So yeah, which is a pretty good thing that underscores the hypocrisy and reveals what is a pretty strong truth about Ted Cruz. Like, he's done nothing, he's awful, and when it's coming from Trump, it makes a lot of difference. It makes pretty much everything really perfect, frankly. So I mean, I really hope that resonates with some of the Trump voters, but and I think I say this, I mean the Trump Cruz voters when I say this. And it's probably gonna be something where because keep in mind, this is the guy who in his big night in his big convention day, he goes out and he says on Donald Trump's big convention day, Ted Cruz comes to the stage and says, "Vote your conscience, vote up and down the ballot, vote for your conscience," and even at Donald Trump's convention, refuses to endorse Donald Trump in any way whatsoever, which is quite perfect, if you ask me. In the end, so yeah, and then of course we have the fatal moment, and where Ted Cruz is on the campaign trail, and we have this. He's making a call for Donald Trump, and here it is.
Hi, this is Ted Cruz calling. I was calling to encourage you to come out and vote on Election Day. This election is critical for the direction of our country, and I urge you to come out and support freedom, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. You can vote by absentee ballot, and if you need help getting an application for an absentee ballot, the Republican Party of Texas can help you with that. Or you can vote in person, but I just wanted to encourage you to come out and vote. Thank you, and God bless you.
Oh, you see, this is so sad. He's phone begging for Trump. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of very unfortunate stuff there with the Cruz and Trump relationship for both parties, really. And I mean, you think Ted Cruz is going to be, you think Trump's going to be out there endorsing Ted Cruz? You think he's going to mention Ted Cruz's name once, aside from the beginning? No, it's going to be a speech all about him. You watch. We don't know when it's. Do we know when it's going to happen? No. So GoFundMe gained traction thanks to social media help from Parkland shooting survivor and resistance tweeter David Hogg and Claude Taylor, respectively. At True Facts stated, Claude Taylor, please don't follow him. Hey, at David Hogg, at Antonio Aurelio, what do you think of this layout 10 by 22 feet for the Trump tweet truck? Which is pretty weird. Is this a silly resistance prank with no utility? Almost certainly. The idea that Trump loyalists attending a rally to see their beloved leader would be not convinced to vote for Cruz by a tweet on a truck is laughable. They'll likely assume it's fake news cooked up by the liberal Pizzagate conspiracy. Those donating to the GoFundMe would be better served giving their money directly to Beto O'Rourke's campaign, which new poll show was within 1 point of Cruz. Pretty much a dead heat, could go either way. So, by the way, please get out there, support Ted Cruz. Beto O'Rourke. Go out, support him, please. Thank you. But there is the situation where,